You know, we either create a positive reaction if we like the music. You know, we create a negative reaction if we don't like the music. Or maybe we create an action that we said we don't like the music so much that we need to increase the intensity of the volume. You know, this is our personal reaction. And again, in energy medicine it works the same. If the information is pleasant, we resonate with it. Sometimes it's so pleasant that we maybe want to increase the intensity. Sometimes it's not so pleasant, but still pleasant enough that we can take the information by decreasing the intensity. And sometimes it's not pleasant at all, then we need to change the information. And this is how energy medicine works. It doesn't matter whether you apply bioresonance, electromagnetic fields, ultrasound, whatever. You know, this is how energy medicine works, nothing else. It all depends on the content of the information and on the intensity of the content of the information. Yeah? Frequency and intensity. Don't mix this up. Frequency is always the content of the information, and intensity is the volume of the content. So that means if you apply energy and you change the volume, you do not change the frequency. Very important. You just change the intensity of the frequency. Okay? Very important. So what are the reactions of magnetic fields? I told you that magnetic fields are not noticeable by humans, but we are still dependent on them in many ways. For example, light is an information out of the electromagnetic spectrum. Without light, we would be not able to survive. Because within our entire biorhythm, we need a certain amount of the day, we need light, we need UV light, we need to produce vitamin A, vitamin B, all these kind of necessary components which make us surviving and thriving. In order for this, we need light. So that's very important. Light are also electromagnetic waves. And I mentioned that already. We are highly depending on certain natural frequencies which we are surrounded by since the beginning of evolution. And these frequencies we will look a little bit closer now. I want to probably write this here also so that you understand it a little bit better. We are surrounded by certain natural frequencies, which, by the way, in the meantime, they are very well researched and they're also known. And believe it or not, you can find a lot on Google about this. 2 days ago, I saw a t-shirt which says, "I don't need Google, my wife knows everything." But you can Google this, it's no problem. There is one very, very famous natural frequency which was actually discovered by who else? A German physicist. His name was Schumann, and maybe you heard about this. It's the so-called Schumann resonances. Schumann frequencies. He figured out that the space between the surface, that's me and you, the space between the surface of planet Earth and the threshold to the stratosphere, that's where the environment changes because there is no oxygen anymore, no gravity. That is where the astronauts are going sometimes. This space in between, this contains of a very, very stable prevailing frequency. Very interesting. And this is the so-called Schumann resonance. And if we look at the frequency, by the way, the value of frequency is Hertz, according to German physicist Heinrich Hertz. This is the value of frequency. 1 Hertz means 1 cycle per second. So if we count frequencies, we count them in hertz. And 1 hertz means 1 cycle per second. So if you drink 20 beer an hour, what is your frequency? Huh? It's not so easy. 20 divided through 60 times 60, go to 3060, because then you have the frequency. How much is it? 20 divided through 3600. Are you working today or maybe I must say it in German. 20 in hyperplane is 0.0055 hertz. This would be your drinking frequency an hour in beer, if you drink 20 beers per hour. This is how simple you can calculate frequency. The Schumann resonance is exactly 7.83 hertz. So that means the space between the surface of the Earth and the exit to the stratosphere, the prevailing carrier frequency of this space vibrates with exactly 7.83 hertz. What's interesting is, you know the alpha state of the brain. This is the state when you are alerted, when you are awake, when you are ready to receive information. You know, is exactly between 7 and 8 hertz. Think about this. Very interesting. And look at the Schumann resonance. It's exactly the same frequency range. Well, the second natural frequency, which we already know, is the carrier frequency of the Earth magnetic field. The Earth magnetic field has its own carrier frequency, and it vibrates between 11.75 and 11.79 hertz. Why there is a little difference? It's because the carrier frequency varies a little bit from the poles to the equator, but only a little bit. So the carrier frequency of the Earth magnetic field vibrates with exactly 11.75 to 11.79 vibrations per second. Here you can also see it's a very, very low frequency. Very low frequency. Okay, what do you think is the carrier frequency of your mobile phone, of your smartphone? Yep. 800 to 1900 megahertz. You know what mega means? A lot. 1 megahertz is 1 million hertz. So your mobile phone, the carrier frequency of your smartphone vibrates with a frequency between 800 and 1900 million vibrations per second. Did you ever use your mobile phone for longer than 15 minutes, 20 minutes to talk with somebody? Yeah, what happens? What happens? Your ear becomes hot. Your tissue becomes hot. And this is due to the high frequency. This high frequency creates a so-called thermal effect. And this thermal effect can be only created by really, really high frequencies or really, really high intensities. In this case, it's the frequency, because the intensity is actually very low. got the cordless phone. You still want to know the carrier frequency of a cordless phone? I told it already. It's between 2.4 and 3 gigahertz. 1 gigahertz is 1,000 megahertz. That's a lot, you know. And when you compare this, let's make some comparison with existing prevailing carrier frequencies within our entire body system. For example, the human brain. Do you know the frequency range prevailing in the human brain? Between 0.5 and 25 hertz. Interestingly, all prevailing vibrations within our entire body are within the content of the natural frequency range, which we get from the natural sources, from our environment. This has no correlation anymore. It's just far out of the range. The landline, the phone line, it doesn't create, because it's mostly analog, so it doesn't create any huge problems. That's why the most healthy phones are the old ones with a, these are the most healthy phones. With the dialer. Yeah, exactly. The best. According to energy medicine, this is the choice of the choice. Of course, it's not so convenient, but it's retro style. It's trendy again. So if you can get one, get one. And it's good for your health, because whenever the phone is ringing, you must walk to the phone. You know, the phone doesn't walk to you anymore, which also creates a positive impact on your health. But do you understand now? There is a, for me, it's important that you take out of this room the knowledge that applying frequency, to make a quick summary, applying frequency can create aversive effects, neglected effects, or resonance effects. It depends on the content of the information. According to the law of nature and the prevailing frequencies in our environment from natural sources, the lower frequencies are the ones we seem to resonate better, because they are also naturally available, comparing to the artificial frequencies, which are, even the voltage worldwide, it's between 50 to 60 hertz. So it's already over the natural range. So what do you think? Which frequencies should we apply in order to create a beneficial effect? Give me an idea. Should we apply Schumann frequencies?
Yes.
Should we apply Earth frequencies?
Yes.
Yes. Should we apply smartphone frequencies? Cordless phone? Human brain? Landlines? Thank you. Here we are. If we want to utilize frequency for energy medicine to create resonating effects, these are the frequency ranges we should apply. And believe it or not, these are exactly the frequency ranges which are coming out of this system. Surprisingly.
What's the
The carrier frequency range of of our PEMF systems are between 0.5 and 25 hertz.
within
0.5 to 25 hertz, which covers the entire frequency range of the human brain, including all the natural frequencies which we usually get by the Earth magnetic field and the Schumann resonance. So now, remember, I told you, if we talk about health and disease, we always talk about deficiency and overload. So what do you think? If we use a smartphone extensively, does it create a deficiency or an overload?
Overload.
That's what you think, but it actually creates both. Why? Because if you use a smartphone, you not only create an overload caused by the thermal effect, you also interfere with the natural frequencies. So you take away and you alter the natural frequencies, and that creates on the other side a deficiency. Because we don't get the natural frequencies in its natural origin anymore. You know? And now maybe your answer, can this, evaluate or balance the effects? Yes, it can, but it can, of course, it's not 100% insurance, because you also must change your lifestyle a little bit and still get away from all unnatural frequencies. Of course, you got here a lot of 100% natural frequencies. But if you use your smartphone, when you lie on this, you still have an interference between the exposure of the smartphone and the natural frequencies coming out here. So, yes, you can rebalance your entire organism, but you must change a little bit your behavior, how to use that. But if you understand this principle, you almost understand energy medicine. And you almost understand what is beneficial and what is not so good for you. This is very important. There's another effect which we know from music. I quickly delete this because this is also important. Have you ever heard about harmonics? Imagine you have an orchestra with 10 different instruments, and they're playing a symphony together. You know, in order to create a pleasant experience when you listen to the symphony, all these 10 instruments, they have to play together in harmony. Exactly. So if one instrument creates a disharmony within the entire symphony, you would hear it immediately, and it would be not pleasant anymore. So the same principle we have when we apply electromagnetic fields. Because you have to understand from physics, if one frequency meets another frequency, what do we always create? An additional frequency, which is the so-called harmony, or in physics we call it an overwave. So what happens when two natural frequencies meet? They always create a natural harmony, because the origin of both frequencies is 100% natural. If a natural frequency meets an artificial digital frequency, the created overwave can be not 100% natural anymore. It is a mix between natural and artificial. It's not a pure harmonic anymore. So that means, we not only benefit from single natural harmonic frequencies, we also benefit when all these single frequencies meet from the so-called harmonic overwaves. On the other hand, if we have a lot of gadgets with artificial electrosmog around us, and all these artificial frequencies meet each other, we even make the environment worse, because every artificial frequency meeting another artificial frequency creates an artificial overwave. So creates we call it a so-called frequency chaos. And the more you use, the more polluted your environment around you becomes around you. And if you use it too extensively, then it comes to the point where it gets really tricky. We see severe illnesses. For example, people working in the cell phone industry and are exposed to very high intensity and high frequency when they work on the cell phone towers. You know, they really develop severe chronic diseases. You know, which they are not able to go close to an electromagnetic source anymore, because they immediately, you know, create an allergy. They cannot breathe anymore. All kinds of symptoms. So they are desensitized already. And yeah, this is really interesting. So this is about frequency, and then to fully understand how we apply electromagnetic fields, we must talk about the volume, about the intensity of the frequency. So, this is seconds, and this is intensity. So if we have, let's say here, we have a frequency. This is 1, 2, 3 cycles per second. How many hertz? 3 hertz. Thank you. So, this is 3 hertz, this is 3 hertz, this is 3 hertz, this is 3 hertz, this is 3 hertz. Okay. How many cycles we have here? 3 cycles, it's also 3 hertz. What is the difference between this 3 hertz and this 3 hertz? This frequency has a higher amplitude, so that means it is louder, it has more volume, but it's still 3 hertz. Okay? So, what I want to tell you, if you want to utilize electromagnetic or energy medicine for health benefit, one crucial parameter is the content information, it's the frequency. The second crucial parameter is the volume. How loud or how calm you must apply this frequency in order to create a reaction. So this is the second parameter which we have to figure out. And later on, when we go into the intensity spectrum here, you will learn that it is very simple to apply such a system in regards to frequency and intensity. Frequency, you don't have to think about it, because the frequency automatically will be generated by the software. So you don't have to think about this. The only thing you have to think about is how intense I must apply this frequency, and what is the third part? How long? How long? You know, how high must be the volume and how long I must apply to create a reaction. This is as simple as it is. Because the frequency will be automatically generated by the software itself. In regards to utilize magnetic resonance stimulation system and its intensity, believe it or not, the lower the intensity,